and good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday wrap-up. I'm here with my guy, Mr. U, and Herb. How you doing, gentlemen?
Doing good, man. We're here, brother.
It's a beautiful morning.
All right, grab some coffee if you're here on the West Coast. It's bright and early. Even on the East Coast, it's still only 9 o'clock. So it's definitely coffee time.
I couldn't get the coffee. I'm doing an all natural energy drink, so I'm rocking that today. So I'm ready to roll.
Okay.
I'm ready to roll.
What you got there? What's the energy drink? Do the little
my
energy. Yeah,
nice. Baby. Oh yeah.
Yep. Right on.
Absolutely. It's working too. It's already working. I'm already hot.
Got some Tide fans in here.
Already.
Alabama Tide. They like washing their clothes.
Oh wow.
That's what you're gonna go with? Shots fired early on this morning. Huh? Okay.
I'm surprised Herb took it so well. I'm like, wow.
Yes,
Herb was
sir.
surprisingly calm. He must not have had a lot of coffee already. He did.
I told you we Alabama fans. We used to take shots from everybody. I tried to explain this to you before. We're used to it.
I'm not saying everybody, but it's like everybody.
You know,
everybody. Washington fans jump around and go, "Hey, shot that."
Hey, sometimes you got to launch some strays out there.
Yeah. When I say everybody, Mr. U, I mean everybody. Nobody likes us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when you win consistently for a long time, that happens, right? Yeah. Because the first
I did that about Ohio State.
The first Super Bowl that the Patriots won, ain't nobody cared, right? You're like, you know what? They've been bad for 30 years. Cool, right? Plus, it's a team named the Patriots. It was after 9/11. Like it was, like you couldn't align that storyline up better if you wanted to. And then they rattle off a few more, and you start looking at this 20-year dynasty, and now everybody's like, you know what? I hope they fail miraculously.
Yep.
Look at what got started here. Look at this.
Hey, but seriously,
I don't even know that person.
Welcome in. Thanks for tuning in. I just want to say thank you because, in case you duck out.
Thank you for joining us. I don't know who that is. She's over to come in. She got me in hot too. She ready to
it's great.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's Trina. She follows us on Twitter.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
She's an awesome fan, man. Good to meet you, Trina.
So, on that note,
wow.
You have an audio clip
from oh my God.
Tom Brady talking to some of the rookies here. And so just want to share this clip.
Now?
What's that?
He's mentoring people now?
I mean, his career's over. So, yeah, he's going to do public speaking. He's going to be on, he's going to be doing the broadcast this year for Fox. So, I mean, I knew about that. He's going to be he's going to be making all the rounds for sure. I mean, you got to fully step into that next stage of your career, right? So, sure. Let's see. Can you hear it? Hear it?
No, not yet, brother.
Okay. All right. So I got to share it a little bit different way.
I'm sure if he was saying "Roll Tide," we'd be hearing it already. But
I know that's right.
Yeah. For a fact, Brady is not saying "Roll Tide." There is a 0% chance that is happening.
The go blue in him will not allow him to say that out of his mouth. But I understand that. What's up, Win? Win's in the house this morning. Good morning, Win. Stick Brady on Fox.
There we go.
All right.
All right, so
you're gonna talk to him about work.
You think it's about you. It ain't about you. It's about us.
Hear it now.
And the biggest problem I see with a lot of the young players today, you guys are making it too much about I and me because of social media, because of branding and all that. It's fine. You're not gonna win. There was a difference between being a star and being a champion.
Your talent gets you there. Your work ethic and your discipline takes you to where you want to be.
Every day of practice is important. You know why? Because when I was on the Patriots and we had 20 years winning, every day was a big day. I treated a preseason game, I treated a regular season like it was a Super Bowl. So when I got to the Super Bowl, it was just another day for me.
You got to know who you are because those moments going to come. You're going to be down 28-0. You got to say, all right, I know who I am. I'm going to go get it.
I'm unrelenting. Like I will not quit in anything I do. And I never got there on educational background, and never got there on skill. It was work ethic and hustle.
Wow. Okay.
So, it's a clip that I liked because there's something about a lack of hustle that you see out of some of these kids that are coming through. Like, it is definitely the I, not we type of thing. So it was just kind of an interesting clip. Obviously that interview goes on much longer, and if you're watching, you can find it. It's all over the place. But I was looking at that section of it because so much of it now is self-promotion and branding and all of that. And I liked where he went with it as far as it's fine, but you're not going to win that way, right? Because you're not going to cultivate a team. Like, you may be on the same team, but you're not going to be a team. So, but I don't know. What do you guys think of that?
I loved it. I wanted to hear more. I thought it was fantastic. I mean, there's one part that Brady said. I wish I could almost go back and hear it. I had to hear it on my own, but it was something that he said. He said several good things, but I like the idea of that, because at the end of the day, when he was talking about the 20 years, when he was talking about every game, he treated it like it was a Super Bowl. When he got to the Super Bowl, it was that routine, and they knew what they were doing. That's priceless to me, because I feel like that's not what's happening right now. Everybody trying to work their way up to the Super Bowl, and not doing the daily things that it takes. Like I said that about my football team right now. Daily things that it takes. You're not doing that on a regular basis, but you want some kind of long-term end result. It's a game of inches. They say that a lot, but it's really true. It's literally a game of inches, and everything that you do, every coverage, every time you don't block or you do block, it makes a difference. Every time that you run the wrong route and your quarterback is in jeopardy and throws, the pass that gets in somebody else's hands, all those little things matter. So Brady, man, Brady dropping the wisdom, man. I got respect for him for that one, because that's real talk. You can hate it. You can talk about it offline, hating the Patriots and not, want to see them win. But look what they were doing, though. You talk about the deflated balls and that kind of stuff. We can go there. That's a different topic. But the bottom line was they was exercising dominance, and why was that happening? Was it because they were recording somebody, or was it because they were actually doing the little things that it takes to be excellent long term?
Well, I mean, think back to when you were a kid playing sports, right? What was one of the first things that coaches always told you? Practice like you play, right? Because if you put in the work every day at practice, it's going to show up on the field, right? Mm-hmm. And if your primary goal is highlight reels of yourself on Instagram as opposed to actually getting that real work in, that'll also show up on the field.
It's incredible. Did you guys see the little clip? Little clip of the 9-year-old kid playing basketball? My wife showed me this yesterday, and I'm like, is this a real thing? In the caption, it had him getting an NIL deal. The boy was 9 years old.
Sure. Yeah.
He was shooting basketball. He was like some little game. I don't know how competitive it was, but it was a little game. And after every shot, he was flexing and doing this after every shot, bowling up against other players. 9 years old. I see somebody NIL deal in the corner. I'm like, NIL deal.
Sure.
It stopped me in my tracks. Like, you really? Is this real?
Yeah.
His head's already screwed up already. First off, he bowling up, so there's no. It's past competition now. Now we're talking about you promoting you now. Every shot you take, you bowling up every shot. So it's like at 9.
I mean, I guess if you're a walking bucket, hey, but I mean,
nah, man.
The thing is, I mean,
9.
There's two ways to look at it, right? Like, some of it, you're just like, okay, get that work in, get better at it, whatever. But at the same time, it's the 1% of the 1% that actually make it to a pro league. So if you can make money, make it. Right. So, I mean, like, I can't hate on the hustle if that's what's working, and it landed him either, getting paid by YouTube because he's got followers, or an NIL deal, or any of that. Right. I can't hate on the hustle, because at the end of the day, the NBA probably is a low percentage chance, even if you're great. So, I mean, I can see it from both sides, because, from a coaching standpoint, you're like, hey, shut up, do the work, maybe you can actually get where you want to go. But if you're doing something and people are like, hey, I want to give you money, I mean, you take that money while you can, right? It's not like you're going to stay in a minimum wage job if somebody's offering you something better, right?
No, I'm with you, man. I think I'm just thinking about the kids.
Yeah.
But again,
that kid's head is all. You can say what you want. I mean, his shot. It's a 9-year-old shooting a basketball. It's exactly what you think it looks like.
no, that's my point. That's my point. If you can grab that cash and maybe you are paying for your college right now by doing goofy stuff on YouTube that gets you an NIL deal, maybe that pays your way through college.
I guess it goes to what your end goal is, and kind of tying it back to the Brady thing. He's kind of talking, I guess, more about people who've gotten past that step. It's like once you get to the NFL, there's a lot of talented people. And I just think a lot of them skip too many steps once they get there. And they just think, well, I'm the greatest. I mean, that's fine. But the people that we consider the greatest aren't necessarily the most physically talented once you get there. It's the people that were working the hardest, at that time, or trying to get, perfect their craft. So, yeah, I understand the hustle when you're younger and you're trying to get there. But you got to understand what your end goal is at some point. And are you willing to work harder than the next person? Or are you just trying to grab the cash while you can and then go? I mean, there's a huge difference. Yeah. Maybe you do that. Maybe you're a sensation for a while and then it's over,
No, for sure. And if you do watch his more of that clip, it wasn't in that particular recording that I found, but he does talk about that in the way of, you got to work, right? Like you got to keep working because, in another part of it, he brought up the fact that he's like, look, I was the 199th pick.
Right.
He's like, so you being in the first pick doesn't matter because there's another one of me in the draft. So you're going to have to go out there and be great. You're going to have to outwork him because this guy that's at 199 is hungry, right? Is paraphrasing. It's not verbatim, obviously. But so it was a good interview. Definitely worth checking out. But yeah, I mean, he does go on to say exactly that, to your point.
Yeah. And I think that's the way of a lot of these guys, especially in football. This is a team sport. You've got to be willing to work. There's certain sport like basketball. If you're the most talented on the basketball court, there's certain stuff you can possibly get away with, because you can affect both sides. Football, you need the team there. You can't go out, be a diva. You can't alienate other people. Then all of a sudden, just like you said, if you're a quarterback, you alienate the line. Next thing you know, you're on your butt the next play. You've got to be willing to put the team first and build that way, So I just think a lot of these guys that get talent, they want to skip a lot of steps, and they're just like, I don't understand why we're not in the Super Bowl. I'm great. Like, well, yeah, you're never at anything. You don't work hard in practice.
Exactly.
You don't know the whole playbook. But I mean, yeah, one-on-one, you're probably, spectacular. But that's just not the way it works these days,
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not how football works. Right? Yeah. There's 11 other dudes that want to put you on the ground, especially if you think you're hot shit. Yeah. They're like, oh, I'm coming for you.
Yeah.
So. It's one of the things that you worry about with Shedeur, right? Is his attitude. I mean, other teams are going to be up for that game, right? Because they're tired of hearing people running their mouth, right? I would bet most teams on the schedule before would have never thought about Colorado, right? They're like, Colorado, whatever, we're going to play them. Cool. Now they're like, we want to embarrass this team.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're just tired of the hype. They're tired of the noise, and they haven't produced anything that warrants the noise.
Yeah.
Right? Like if they went out and won a national title, sure. People will tolerate you chirping a little bit. If you're running your mouth like you did and you're a 4-win team, people take exception to that, especially if you got guys that are on that roster transferring out. And as soon as they hit the portal, they're sitting there saying, oh, I don't even know who this guy was. He was probably a scrub. Like, to your teammates? Really? Man, you better hope you don't see him in the regular season.
I remember once Vanderbilt had like a decent year building up. And I think it was I want to say linebacker Dean got on TV after the game and was talking about, everybody's getting ready. And then we were the next game. It was like, and Bama don't know, better get ready for this. And I was like, you're Vanderbilt, you know what I mean? Like the first time you win, it's like when Colorado goes 3-0 and there's talking trash. And then that game was 55-0, and I'm like, sometimes you just play the game, let what happens on the field do the talking. But yeah, to your point with Colorado, it's the same thing, 3-0, and they're talking world beaters and we're going to make the playoffs. And then every team on the rest of the schedule is like, oh no, we're making sure this doesn't happen. We're beating you up one way or another.
Oh yeah.
So, do something first.
Well, and of course, like the first year,
There you go.
it's funny because this was not slated for this show today, but here we are. So, one of the things that was interesting with Colorado was the first year, right? They had like 35 kids transfer out, which you went into that thinking, okay, that makes sense. It was a 1-11 team. Hey, awesome. Now you come into this year and you have very similar transfer numbers. That looks more like maybe a culture problem, right? Like if you can't keep talent in the building, because it's not like the guys that are transferring out are bad players, despite what Shador wants to say. These are 5-star recruits, 4 and 5-star recruits. Like these are not bad players, right? These were high school All-American kids that are transferring back out, right? Now you're looking at it like, okay, from within the building, it looks like it might be as crazy as it looks like from the outside. From the outside, right, it looks crazy, but you assume that it's crazy because of Dion, and he has that Jerry Jones effect of the cameras follow him everywhere, and he needs that light. Which, whatever, as long as it doesn't transfer to inside the walls while you're actually learning football and trying to get better. But with the amount of kids leaving, it makes you think that what you see on the outside happens inside too.
Yeah. Because I'm reading, I guess I'm just pulling it up. 61% of their 2023 class is gone. I mean, now you expect a lot of transfer from like the bigger programs. That happens like every year, 15 to 20 kids,
Sure.
Like the Georgias, the Alabamas, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Because of depth pieces. But
Exactly.
You don't expect it like up and down the rosters, starters, backups, like anybody with a pulse. Like it's not sustainable in the long run. And and who wants to do that as a coach? Most of the other coaches are like, I want to keep everybody that I've recruited and everybody that I have, and I'd rather work with them, through their 3 or 4 years here, and then keep that cycle going. So,
well, yeah, I mean, how do you get continuity if you got different people constantly?
Yep.
Like, I mean, when you're watching the NCAA tournament on the men's side, right? There's so much one and done and kids moving around. Do you even know who's on any of these teams? I don't. Like the women's side, you watched them for 4 years. So you had like some storylines to follow. You look at the men's side and you're like, I don't know who any of the players are. I mean, you're rooting for your school.
Right.
But I couldn't tell you anybody that was on the team.
Yeah. That's what made UConn so impressive going back to back, because they lost like most of the people from the year before, just to the next year. But yeah, no, I mean, and as a player, wouldn't you want some continuity too? Like, who wants to? And that what makes me like when somebody transfers into Colorado, I don't have any sympathy for you next year, because you already see what you're getting into. You know what's going on there. The chances are, maybe this is a one and done year. Does it really improve your stock or not? What's your ultimate goal here? Again, is it to grab cash from Colorado? Were they really the only people available? Like, I don't know. So,
I mean, I think some of it is they want the opportunity to work with Dion. And then once you get in the building, maybe you realize it wasn't everything you thought it was going to be. Because, I mean, as a player, right? Like, for me, for example, right? Defensive back. Do I want to go learn from one of the best to ever do it? Absolutely. Is it, if it's a zoo when I get there, am I going to want to transfer out? Absolutely. Because at the end of the day, I want to learn stuff from the guy that was one of the best. But at the same time, I need the opportunity to have good enough tape out there that I can make it to that next level.
Right. No,
That makes sense, man.
I agree. Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we should at least get to some of the topics that that we were
Try it.
that we were.
Let's try and see what happens.
So,
Just for kids.
so Justin Jefferson not showing up to OTAs, and not that that's a huge shock, right? Like he's trying to get a new contract, but the part that was interesting about it is there have been sightings of him around the Jets facility, and that could be very interesting. Now, obviously, he still has a year left on his contract, so if the Jets wanted to make a play for him, you know, they'd probably have to give up, you know, at least one first rounder. But they, if they're trying to go all in this year for Rodgers, that would be a pretty incredible weapon for him. Obviously, the Vikings are in a kind of a tough situation. Their quarterback room is interesting, and they're in a division that's tough. The Jets are set up in a way where if they add a couple of pieces, they could make a real run at that division, provided Rodgers, you know, makes it more than 5 plays.
Right. It's I'm reading the article about it too, and they're like, you know, and it's a Jets article. So they're like, well, you know, first off, the Jets have no cap space, you know, and then they'd have to probably trade one of their young pieces. So they do mortgage their future. But man, it does make for some good talk, right? You know, because you think you Rodgers over there, like, yeah, that's what I want. And they're like, oh, why'd you have to say that? You know, can't you just be happy with what we have?
Right.
No, that's what I want. I know you used to bring in all the old crappy guys that I want. Now I want somebody who's actually decent, and we're gonna win the Super Bowl this year. Fine. You know what I mean? Let's mortgage the future. You play 8 plays this year instead of 4, and we don't win the whole thing anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, though, you watched it work for the Rams, right? They mortgaged their future. They had to burn the thing to the ground, basically, as soon as they won that ring, because they couldn't afford to keep anybody.
yep.
But at the same time, they got a ring, right? It's only dumb if it doesn't work. So, you know, if they push all the chips to the middle and they get a ring, nobody's really going to hate on them too much.
This is true.
Now, if you do it and you fail, especially if somehow you miss the playoffs,
Yeah,
right?
that's it
Because
for you.
For whatever reason, people are thinking that this is going to be Rodgers' MVP years, and they just overlooked the fact that his last year in Green Bay was not great.
Yeah. Plus,
Which
Rodgers
is hard.
is kind of building this rep as like he's that guy that's great in the regular season. I mean, a more publicized Dak Prescott, great in the regular season, and then outside of a Super Bowl, you're like, you're not getting a whole lot of postseason success out of this guy, especially in positions where they've been high, you know, seeds or whatever. So.
They were. I mean, for a while there, the NFC Championship game was the Green Bay Invitational, and realistically, it was if you got to that game, you were going to the Super Bowl because you were going to beat Green Bay.
Right.
That's really what it was.
They invited you in and just peppered you and prepared you for the next game.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, welcome to Green Bay. Enjoy the facility. Have fun at the Super Bowl, right? Because a lot of times they were the home team.
Right.
And they were still taking the L's. And, you know, now it's transferred over to San Fran, took over that role. We're just doing the NFC Championship game and then packing it in for the year.
Yeah. I think if I'm the Jets, man, I'd love to see a full year of Rodgers before I start thinking we're one piece away. Like, how about we see what's going on with what we have here?
Well, see, you can't though. You can't because of the way his contract is. Because at the end of this year, they have to make a decision on what it is they want to do with him. So, I mean, if you're going to go all in, this is that year.
Yeah, but if I have to mortgage my future to go all in with him and then it's terrible, then
you're the Saints and not the Rams, right? Because the Saints did the same thing and it just didn't work.
Oh, Kat's not watching. This will make her sad.
Hey, but it happened, right? Like they spent a lot of money to not really do anything. You know, now this was a few years ago, obviously, but so I mean, it gets viewed very different though, because when you think of the Saints and them spending all that money and nothing worked, you're just like, oh, that was really dumb. But when you watch the Rams do it, you're like, I mean, they got a ring. So
I mean, you're right. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So it's just funny though, man. I know the OTA thing. It's not really a big deal because everybody seems to be doing this. It's not really a new phenomenon. I just feel like I read some of the same thing that Herb read, so I'm not gonna regurgitate what he already said about the cap space and stuff. They just don't really have it. I know they can be creative and do some stuff, but they don't really have it. The Vikings, however, I think they got about 19.7 right now, but next year their cap room is tremendous. I'm talking about around 160. So they can finagle a contract for him and bring people in next year, I would assume from free agency mostly, where they can turn the team around and make it a whole different look than what it is right now. They got some areas to fill. I think Harrison Smith, either he's going to retire or get released or take a really big pay cut to stay there. So you got some defensive spots to fill. Daniel Hunter's gone, so you got to fill that spot. I don't think they really have done that up to par just yet. We haven't seen him on the field, so we don't know. But Jefferson staying there and wanting to stay there and say, I want a contract extension. That says a lot about him wanting to be in Minnesota, which is surprising with the whole Kirk Cousins thing. I was kind of shocked that was his response, but he obviously wants to stay there. So make it work for him. Build around him. So, man, and next year you're going to have a lot of money to work with, more than, I think, fourth or fifth highest in the league next year. Work with it. You know what I'm saying? So make it happen. So I don't know. This is weird, but for a lot of reasons that we can get into it, but I don't want to see him go to the Jets.
Well,
first off,
I was going to say,
even before the OTA even started, I was hearing about the Jets in the Super Bowl. I'm like, how? What are we talking about right now? There's nothing to base it on. There's not, even on paper, it doesn't even look that way. They got five guys that everybody loves, like Sauce Gardner. They got Garrett Wilson. They got Breece Hall. They got Jermaine Johnson, who I know probably the least about.
They have a very good defense.
And Vera Tucker. I mean, those guys are very good. I'm saying, but Super Bowl good? It's like, why do we do that to ourselves? We got him in Super Bowl. He coming off an injury.
Their defense was no joke. If they had competent quarterback play, they would have been a very good team.
He's going to come back to that. That's what we're talking about, because he's coming off an injury. He wasn't great before the injury. Like you already astutely mentioned, he wasn't great in Green Bay. It was not good.
He's still going to be an upgrade from Zach Wilson.
I know it.
This is
that's
not
a comparison, yes, but it's not a fair comparison, man. Zach Wilson shouldn't be compared to. I don't know a good
setting the bar low. That's all.
Well, no, but think about it. If you have competent quarterback play, it doesn't have to be elite, but you have an elite defense. We've watched those teams win rings. Baltimore did it. Seattle did it. Like that Super Bowl Seattle won was not because Russell Wilson was great. It was because that defense absolutely destroyed the Broncos. Or if you think of Dilfer winning a ring, it was not because Dilfer's amazing, right?
Yeah. They just said, just don't screw up.
That was exactly it, because that Ravens defense was unreal.
Yeah.
So we've seen it before. It's a program that can work. So he doesn't have to be elite. And the path through his division got easier this year.
I see why they're excited. So I think if that was any other team, I think you'd probably see it a little bit more. But I think you got a little hatred for the Jets going there too. So you're like, forget the whole thing.
Yeah, well, that's why I was like, I know you don't want to see a Jets flag dangling with a Super Bowl.
I don't want to hear something about. I don't want to hear about Super Bowl and the season hasn't started yet. Even if they said about the Giants, I would still have the same feeling. I'm like, they haven't played anything. Don't put that on us. Go out there and play. Let's do a playoff before we talk about Super Bowl. Yeah. We're not even in week 1 yet. It's just not necessary.
I just like that the Jets are pulling a page out of the Cowboys playbook. They're like, we them boys, it's our year. That's
what it sounds like. It's like that part nauseates me.
Yeah.
Just got nothing to do with it. They're little brothers to me for life. They always gonna be a little brother. They're in our stadium. That's how I look at it. You know what I'm saying? But it is a page out of a Cowboys playbook. They haven't done anything yet. They had a practice. And you're talking about Super Bowl. Like, wow. Give it some time, man. Work some stuff out.
But if you're a Jets fan, you got to find a way to hype yourself up somehow. Like, what else are you gonna do?
Is it working?
I mean, if you're a Jets fan, I guess I have no idea.
I don't know any Jets fan is like, yeah, I'm excited about it. I read it in an article. It's like on our website that we're gonna win the Super Bowl. I haven't heard anybody say that yet. Have you?
Yeah, on paper, Their team looks very good.
Yep. And their division is probably gettable, at least in their eyes. So
I think it is now, right? Because the other teams in their division took a step back. It's not like they all got better.
well, New England might have got better.
Well,
They did get better.
I mean,
New England, they got better.
sure.
They didn't get 6 games better, but they got better. Sure.
I know. I'm just making a joke about it.
I'm not sure about the Dolphins defense, but I just watched.
They were at 0, so I figure they moved.
I mean,
The
that's
Dolphins
fair.
defense get
Yeah.
better. That's a question
Like,
to
even
ask.
if you trip, you still fell forward. So
Right,
fair enough,
right.
yeah.
So if they were a 0
Lions,
last year, they're at
Spurs.
least a 1 or 2 this year, right? So hey,
Exactly.
they're
Exactly.
improving by
But when you
leaps
look
and
at the other
bounds.
two teams,
Yeah,
they definitely took a step back from last year, right?
agreed.
So the Dolphins defense didn't get better, huh?
It sure didn't. Hey, but on the plus side, they made this really smart move of, hey, let us get rid of the 3 key pieces of our defense that was actually kind of good. We're going to draft a guy that could be elite, but who knows? And we have a little bit of money, so let me go get a third receiver.
Yes,
Let me
and
go
convert him to DB. That's what I want to
Right?
see.
like you need help on defense, and OBJ was your answer. Like that,
Yep.
it makes absolutely no sense to me. And then, obviously you're looking at the Bills, and, who knows what that defense is going to look like. Their receiving core isn't as good as it was last year. So both those teams realistically take a step back as far as production, right? Realistically, the Dolphins are looking to outrun people, right?
Yeah.
They're looking at playing this year the way KC did their first Super Bowl. Is we understand we have no defense, so we're just going to try and win every single track meet. And they were able to, but Tua's not Mahomes. So
I'm not betting my house on the Jets beating the Ravens and the Chiefs. Just 2 teams that have greatly improved. I'm not putting my house on that. I'm staying in my house.
I was just talking
I'm
about
not doing
in
that.
the division.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah,
the
I-
first step is, like you said, win the division, get a home game, and then take your chances. you know?
I mean, because
So
after
I
that,
think
it's
that's
any given Sunday, right? So
Yeah.
I mean,
and maybe you get on the opposite side of the Chiefs and Ravens, and one of them knocks the other out, and then you've got a shot. So
Yeah.
that's probably the long term.
yeah, because I mean, like I
No,
don't
it's
trust
definitely-
I don't trust the Bengals, right? I mean, Burrow is probably going to have a good year because he seems to have a good year every other year, right?
Mhm.
He has a good year, then gets hurt, has a good year. So, based on that rotation, he should have a decent season.
Right.
But what they don't have is also a defense. Like, I don't know why the AFC hates defense, but when you look at the teams that are supposed to be good, you got the Dolphins, no real defense. You got the Jags, no real defense. Like Bengals, no real defense.
Yeah.
Offensive firepower.
Yeah.
Like they can score points.
Although, if you're not going to get a defense, maybe you should just go ahead and pay Higgins or do whatever it takes to keep Higgins. Because
Right.
if you're not going to put a field of defense, you really need the best offense possible out there.
Exactly.
I need you to pick one or the other. Don't cheap the offense and cheap the
that's
defense.
fair.
They're just like, hope Burrow can throw to himself, or Jamar Chase can catch in triple coverage every single time. So,
Exactly.
which I mean, he
That's
probably
true.
will win half of those, but the ones he doesn't win, you're probably screwed. So,
Well, and
That's
you can
unfortunate.
win that way in the regular season.
mhm.
You can't win that way in the postseason because it's cold and defense matters.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
I
That's
mean,
one team that that's the one team that keeps on ignoring the problems that they have on their team.
Yeah.
It's like have issues in the trenches every single year, and they keep on ignoring it. They bring guys in. Don't get me wrong, but it's not really intentional. It's kind of like, oh, we got some bodies out here. No, but it's just like intentionally solving the problem, and they got the same issue right now on their O-line, and they haven't fixed it yet.
Yeah.
They're still just trying to fix it with duct tape and bubble gum. They're still doing that stuff. The defense too. It's like
Yeah.
Yep.
y'all can't beat the Ravens and the Chiefs and teams like that if you don't solve this stuff, and they still haven't solved it. Case in point, Joe Burrow was hurt again.
Yeah.
Might be hurt right now. How did he get hurt? Because you didn't solve the problem that got him hurt.
well, yeah, because you end
I
up
don't
going
understand.
against
It's hard to understand.
defenses like the Browns and the Steelers and the Jets that they got dudes.
You know that beforehand, so
Yeah.
you prepare for that. It's like if you know a tornado is going to come to your house, you prepare for the tornado, right? You don't wait for it to hit your house first.
Not if you're Alabama, you just walk outside and watch it. But
Right?
yeah,
I hope y'all don't do
You're
that
out
out
there
there.
sitting on
I
your
hope
deck.
that's not what
You're
y'all
like,
do.
yeah.
Stop storm chasing, man.
it's not chasing; it's just stepping outside.
Right?
We don't even chase; we just watch. We not
Y'all
playing
get
as much
the
down
tornado
here.
sound? Y'all get the sound? The
Yeah,
tornado horn?
That's
Y'all
what
get
alerts
that?
you to go outside is get out on
Oh,
the porch.
no, you're gonna go outside,
Yeah.
you're gonna go down
No,
in
you
the
know,
bunker or whatever. You're gonna go
it's like
outside
that.
and look at it.
It's like that old movie Twister, right? It was like, oh, we got cows. Like you're just sitting there watching one float by.
Yep. You know what happened with the Bengals, though, getting back to that, is they had a chance
Good
to
idea.
draft a lineman, and Chase fell into their laps, and they drafted Chase instead. And it's like, it's hard to argue with getting a guy like that, but it just started pushing back the whole fixing the line thing. And then you don't have a high draft pick to fix one anymore. And now just like you said, duct tape and bubble gum. No offense to duct tape, by the way. Shout out to duct tape. We do love
duct tape works. And
Yes.
bubblegum works for some people.
But not usually on an offensive line.
Trench problems.
Yes.
That's all I'm saying.
Duct tape works on literally everything except what it was designed for.
Okay.
Only because I owned an HVAC company and I had to like actually seal up ductwork. You know what doesn't work? Is duct tape.
That's funny.
Oh my God.
So also on the OTA front, Ayuk is not showing up to OTAs. Again, this is not a huge shock. His contract is currently being negotiated. This one's interesting to me because the Niners kind of have to get this done. They need Ayuk to stay on this team because this is going to be their last push to try and finally get this done. You know, they've been in 4 of the last 6 NFC Championship games, and this is probably their last real push for it before they start losing elements of this team to the to being restricted by the cap. So, now they're going to, after this season, they're going to be looking at having to re-sign Debo and CMC, and you still have to figure out what it is you're doing with Purdy, which whether you think he's elite or not, has won enough games that he's probably going to get $50 million a year based on how the new contracts are going. So with that in mind, you almost have to get this done to try and make this one last push before this team starts to fall apart.
Yeah.
This
is the. I'm sorry.
No, you go ahead. Good. Yours is going to be much more intelligent, I can tell.
I don't know about that, but this is a weird one, and we discussed it on recent shows. The fact that they were shopping both guys, Debo and Ayuk, I thought that was strange for a team like Bo mentioned. I think about a week ago or so that these guys, or maybe it might have been Monday. I'm losing track of time, but these guys are. This is their window right here.
Yep.
And you're trying to move 2 guys that make your offense go. One of them gets injured a lot. That's true, and that's fair. You can't deny that. But you shopping both of them. Suppose you got offers for both of them. You gonna move them both and have Pearsall be the number 1? Was that your plan? So it's like this. That's a weird situation. But I get why they wanted Pearsall in the first place. Because if you want to try to trade Debo, I guess he's most like them in comparison to the 2. He's most similar. But best case scenario, everybody stays, take one more bite of the apple, and try to make a run for it. Because Ayuk's numbers are awesome. 75 catches, 1,342 yards. he did fantastic last season. 7 touchdowns as well. So he did fantastic. You want that? He sounded the wide receiver of the future. I had questions about it up front. I said it before. I didn't think that he was a number 1 guy. I said it before. In this case, maybe he is. Maybe I'm proven wrong. I think the jury's still out on that part. But you need him in this situation. So it's like, why would you not be trying to make a deal? I think this is different than the Jefferson talk, because I think Jefferson has been pretty adamant about wanting to be there in Minnesota. In this case, I haven't really heard that from Ayuk. I just kind of assume that he wants to stay there. I think he wants to get paid.
Right.
I think he wants
that part.
Yeah.
But he wants to stay here in San Fran. That's the part I haven't really heard that. I don't need to hear it. San Fran needs to hear it, but I haven't heard that. So he's definitely a key part of the offense. I think him and Purdy got a great connection going on there. If Debo gets traded, it does still happen, I think Purdy will be fine with having Ayuk there to kind of lean on. But I don't know, missing OTA, it's not really a big deal. But they're not getting this contract thing taken care of. It's kind of weird. And it's weird that you want to trade both guys. I'm like, what does that say to both guys?
Yeah.
That you had them both on the block. And it was clear they were on the block because the Steelers were calling in. What's other teams? Steelers and 2 other teams were calling in about them. Steelers.
Well, what's that say about the rest of your team too? Are you just kind of throwing in the season?
I mean, like you said, Monday, the window's not closed. They got this is your shot. Why you throwing it all away right now?
Yeah, I mean, it isn't even kind of closing for this year. I mean, it's kicking the door open like Kool-Aid Man. Like, I mean, this thing is wide open to go win a thing, and they're going to need every piece if they're going to take on the Eagles that did get better this offseason.
Right. And maybe one of your few, I guess, NFC teams that really did. You're thinking, let me get by this. I've probably got a good shot in NFC Championship game and Super Bowl. So I don't get it all. And with the Ayuk thing, that's one of the things we had talked about earlier this year. Is he really a number one? He's really survived as having to be the number two, and that's why he's put up good numbers. That's what we were saying earlier. Debo kind of makes it go, and you get the attention on C-Mac. So Ayuk doesn't get double teamed. So
it makes you wonder if he's the new version of Juju, right? Who looked amazing when he had AB on the other side. Right. He had to be the number one. He wasn't quite that dude.
Right. And I think that's especially a question. Like Jefferson, no doubt, is a number one.
Yes.
And he has shown that he can thrive with nobody else out there. With Ayuk, it's just always like, yeah, he's in single coverage because they're watching everybody else. So don't get me wrong. I think we made the argument earlier this year. A good number two. I don't know if I'm prepared to slot him as my number one. So again, if I'm taking this shot last year with I'm keeping everybody, I'm taking that shot. And then, I said, if Debo leaves after the year and you've got Pearson, you think he can replace Debo's part, that's fine. And then you're keeping Ayuk, and now you're keeping that group together. But I'm not letting everybody go. And then, I don't know. I would have gotten the Ayuk stuff done by now, I think.
Ayuk feels like he's better than a number two, but he may not quite be your number one. He's like a 1B, right? Like he can carry. No, it's fantastic. But I mean, if he has to be your number one, it may not work. But if he has to take on the number one defender parts of the game, he can do that, right? Now he's in a great situation currently, right? So I mean, I don't know. I guess for me, like I liked winning. I wanted to win, right? And it's funny because the money that you give up, if you do win, you end up finding in endorsement deals and stuff like that.
That's what I always thought. And I never understand. Like the winners are always front and center. Yeah. Somebody's going to come calling with some kind of deal. And there's plenty of local deals that you never hear about. They're like, oh, here's the Nike 10 million. That's great. But what about the 3 local car dealerships that called you to crank out a 30-second commercial and you make, $250,000, whatever, like the money to me is going to be there if you're front and center and you're winning.
Exactly.
It just seems like, I don't know. These guys nowadays, it's not like, let me take a good amount of money and go. They're like, I want more than whatever that guy made. And that's the problem with the whole football structure,
Yeah, it's I'm the next man up, meaning I have to reset the market again. It's like, I mean, you can, or hear me out. Everyone can get paid and we can win hardware, and hardware gets you jobs forever.
I don't know what you're talking about. How do I get my money now?
It's like financial magic.
It's crazy. In fact, if you win a couple of them, you're going to be a broadcaster, even if you're bad at it.
Yes. We will put you on some show when you're done for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
This is much different than Justin Jefferson for another reason. Everybody probably has been saying, some guys, I'm sure you guys probably don't disagree with this, that he's probably the best wide receiver in the game, right? Would you agree?
One of, anyway. Yeah, one of them, for sure.
So not number one?
I mean,
I'm not saying not number one. I'm not just saying number. You probably got a group of maybe 5, because I think Jamar Chase would probably be an argument in there too. What Hill does for that argument.
Yeah, it's not a clear cut.
My point kind of destroyed if you guys don't agree with that. So. But
I don't know. I think your point is probably still valid because he is a number one and he's in that conversation. Like he's not. If you said, "Hey, do you think Ayuk is number one?" He's nowhere near this conversation.
No, I would never say that.
No, he's in the conversation. You can make an argument for it.
Yeah,
I would just say that his attitude about it is kind of like, I know what I'm worth.
Right.
I'm not trying to make you do nothing. I know who I am. I get that feel from Justin Jefferson, but Ayuk is different to me. It feels like, okay, I want to be paid more than what's that number? I think $25 million number I saw. That it's kind of like the going rate. I want to have more than that because I think, like you said, he's 1A, well, not 1A, 1B. And it's like, I don't have the confidence that he's facing the number one guy on the defensive side that he's gonna have 1,342 yards. I don't think that's happening.
Well,
I don't believe that. So,
and that's why I said he's okay taking some of that role, but not being that role, right? Like if the best guy transfers over to him during a game, he can still beat that guy. Not every play, but he can still get opportunities. If he has to do it all day, that's why I was like, he can take some of that. That's why I think he's a 1B.
Yeah, that ain't happening if Debo ain't there. All you have is Jennings, who has a contract issue himself, and then Pearsall. That's not happening.
Well, because
the
now you're
whole
1A.
game changes for him then.
Yeah, no, because now you're the number one guy, so you're getting everybody's best look.
Not good, but yeah.
Agreed.
Absolutely. So on a different sport note, we have Major League Baseball, and that is the Braves pitcher David Fletcher being investigated for gambling with the same bookie Ohtani did. So does he go down because he doesn't have an interpreter?
Yes.
Absolutely.
That's not interpreter, that's scapegoat is what you're saying.
Exactly.
That's the correct terminology here. So
you can't say no speaking no English. That ain't gonna work for you. You done.
I mean, guys, just put the money away until your career is over, and then go wild. But why open yourself up to all of this?
Why all this dice rolling, man? I'm like, why y'all doing this?
For no money.
You're making enough money? Baseball per capita, probably baseball makes more money than anybody.
Yes, but I mean, as long as you're not, in the minors, yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, they getting ramen and a gift pack or something. That's
pretty much. Here's some Subway vouchers.
It's not. Yeah, but these guys make money, man. Why y'all rolling the dice on this? This is like, I ain't gonna say it's easy money, but
well, a lot of it's small bets, which is the crazy part. Like these guys are throwing away multi-million-dollar contracts for $3,000. You're like, what are you even doing?
But why are they doing that? Are they doing it so they can stay under the radar? Is that purposeful? Are they doing small bets, or is that because they tight with their money and they want to? It's better than Bitcoin. I mean, why are they doing that? So,
I mean, I think
find other sports.
I think they're just addicted to the added risk of it.
Why are you betting on the sport that you're in?
That's my point.
Yeah.
Jordan was one of the biggest gamblers ever. And the one thing he just avoided was his own sport. But I mean, or at least that we know of. But just find another sport. If you have to do it, just find another sport. Like it's just that easy. There's a million out there. Okay, you can get up like 3:00 in the morning, bet on a cricket match if you just gotta have it. But do something. Do something
along the cross.
Yeah. If somebody's saying what's my average lifespan of this sport, if I can get 10 years out of them, great. Okay, wait 10 years and then just blow the whole thing, whatever you want. But just survive while you're still in the sport. It just doesn't make sense.
Well, and the thing that's funny is most careers aren't even that long. Right? Like most people don't make it 4 years. Most people don't get off their rookie contracts. You can't figure out how to not gamble on your own sport for 4 years. Really? Like that is wild to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that was very similar to the guys that couldn't figure out how to not smoke weed during the season.
Yeah.
They didn't even care if you did it during the summer. They're just like, hey, don't do it during the football season. It's a banned substance. And you got supreme talents like Ricky Williams that throws the entire career away because couldn't set the bong down. You're just like, dude, you could be one of the best to have ever done it. And instead, you're going to spend every other, you're going to play 3 games a season and then be suspended the rest of the year. Yeah. Like it made no sense. Still doesn't make any sense.
Here's the line that triggers Pete Rose or Pete Rose apologists. Any player connected to any betting on baseball games could face up to a lifetime ban.
Exactly.
You knew that going in, didn't you? You heard of Pete Rose, haven't you? His name's been around a little bit. He's been around for a while. You never heard of that?
Well, what I don't like about, especially the Ohtani situation, is there was such a ridiculous double standard, because when you looked at, Harbaugh with Michigan, right? He was going to get in trouble. They're like, there is a reasonable amount of suspicion that you at least had an idea what was going on. So you're going to get in trouble. For Brady on the deflating of the footballs, right? They suspended him because they're a reasonable assumption that you had an idea that they were deflated or whatever, right? Or that you were involved or aware, whatever. Ohtani doesn't get that. When you got $40 million getting siphoned out of your account, you don't think he was relatively aware? I mean, I don't know.
That's what I said before. He got so much money that he didn't realize it was gone. I'm not trying. I don't have that much money, so I don't know how to manage that yet. I don't believe that you don't know
up to like $400K, right? Like I could buy it up to $400K. Maybe when you're in the hundreds of millions, $400K is, you don't know, but you're talking like 40 mil.
Yeah.
With all of these bets, get out of here with that. There's no way you didn't have some, based on, the precedent that they did everywhere else, some reasonable knowledge that something was going on.
Right. No, I agree. And it's amazing how fast that whole thing got kind of swept away and away from Ohtani. Just like, hey, big stars with LA now. We're just not going to let this stick. And that's almost like there was no investigation. He came out and said, hey, it was that guy that said, all right, go get that guy. And it was just like nothing. I'm like, are you guys kidding me? Like you said, anybody else they're going after.
It's because he was too big of a star.
Yep.
Now the missus come home with a new Corvette. You can look at it and say, oh, okay, I know I didn't buy that, so she must have bought it from our account. The guy that interpreted probably didn't buy anything that you can see, but I mean, there gotta be some kind of checks and balances, because you don't want to, because people look. There's
no way you don't get an alert on your account.
Right.
That says, there's 8 figures leaving this thing.
That's possible, and you should have that kind of safeguard, at least one safeguard. But come on, man. You hear about people getting the money stolen from them all the time by people who they trust.
Right.
Even in Japan, you had to have heard about it, because it probably happens there too. So that's irresponsible to say, you know what? I didn't know that I'm losing $40 million for a day or what. Come on.
I mean,
that's
even when I buy stuff for like work projects where you'd be dropping, 20 grand, your bank calls you.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, this is a $20,000
called fraud alert.
Is this a real thing? Because we don't want to eat this if it's not. You mean to tell me that there isn't somebody maybe giving him a call at $10 million, right?
No way.
These guys are worried about 20 grand, but 10 mil, they're like, I don't know, seems legit. Like,
right.
Come on.
Otherwise, unless this guy's salary is $20 million a year and I just missed it, there's just no way that this is getting by. But like I said, it was the biggest like non-scandal ever. They just said, it's fine. He's got a scapegoat already in place. We're good.
They're like, you know what? This guy brings too many viewers, too many fans in the stands.
Yep.
Unless he burns the building down, this guy's playing. And we'll
and
find
even then, it depends on what parts of the building he burns down.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, so it makes me very curious what happens with this one. Does this have a public eye on it, or do they sweep it under so that nobody looks back at the Ohtani situation, because it's the same bookie that was used?
I don't know the answer.
So it makes you think that he's going to be gone, but we're never going to hear about it.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, hey, we got to kick you out, but we're still going to give you lots of money to shut up.
Quietly.
We got this NDA where we're going to pay you forever.
Yep. And then when you ask about that player, they'll go, who?
Yeah.
Never heard of him.
Yeah, exactly. He never even played baseball. What are you talking about?
Gwinnett, where's Gwinnett?
I never heard of a lacrosse player. No.
Exactly.
Gwinnett, where's that? I never heard of Gwinnett. I have no recollection of that.
But it does bring up a can of worms. Like, who's the next person then? Because this seems to be a popular thing, and there's
Yep.
No real link, I guess, between the guys otherwise. So if this is somebody that the players just know and who apparently can't keep his mouth shut or letting his record slip, I don't know. But is somebody else coming? Is this about to be a bigger thing than they realize?
I think
Or
so.
are they already eliminating certain people? Like if you see somebody get kicked out 50 games for like steroid use or something, all of a sudden randomly, you're like, was he really using drugs or was it something else?
I wonder if they're going to hide some of these guys in AAA.
That'd be good too.
Like quietly kill their careers, right? Just be like, oh yeah, you're injured, so you're going to go down to the banana league, and
level of conspiracy theorism is high in this place today.
That's right. Wrapping it up with the tinfoil hats. Let's go.
Wow.
But that being said, we are at the end of the show here. Be sure to let everybody know where they can find you.
Great, Herb.
Raj Herb, you see the tag there for Twitter, or X. We're on Tuesday nights, the Herb and Raj podcast, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern. And then, of course, the Herb and Raj podcast, you can search us on YouTube to find all our videos as well.
All right. We're on all the socials that they call me Mr. U. Of course, you can find the four of us together. The fourth person, the invisible, you can't see him, but he's here. Monday at 9 a.m. EST on They Call Me Mr. U, the podcast. So of course, we're going to be also on here on Wednesday mornings, as you can see. And Thursday nights, well, most Thursday nights. Thursday night triple threat. We're talking pro wrestling at 9 p.m. on that one. So we're excited about that. And we're on all the social. We drop it on different shows and say hi to folks and guest hosts and that kind of stuff. So we're around. But thank you again for listening and joining us and subscribing, please.
Yep. Definitely like and subscribe. And of course, for me, you can see me here in a couple of hours on Coast to Coast. And at 1 p.m. Pacific, I'm going to be on Coach's Corner. We are going to have last year's interim head coach for the Panthers on. And so we're going to get a chance to figure out how it is that organization looks from the inside.
Oh, wow.
Going to chat a little bit about, Tepper throwing drinks at fans. So should be a fun interview because, that Panthers organization is wild. He was one of the interim head coaches during the last 2 years where they went through 4 head coaches. So be sure to tune in to the Coach's Corner at 1 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. See you all in a couple hours.
I got to end